So I got my top and bottom stitched on both pieces. And keep in mind that this holster really doesn't have a front and a back to it until you form it. So that's just something you should keep in mind. I want to get this thing stuck together a bit so I can finish my corners. To do that, I'm just going to use some tape because I can peel that apart. I'm kind of going next to my what's going to be a stitch line there. Same over on the other side. Just kind of run that down like that. And I'm not trying to make this pretty at all. I'm just trying to, I want to hold it together enough so I can just round my corners on the whole holster. And most of this is because once you've got it to this point and you round your corners and stuff, you're not going to be able to go through it with your chisel, your stitching chisel. You're not going to be able to go through both pieces, or all four pieces. Remember, because we lined this one, so you won't be able to go through all four pieces. So what we'll have to do is go through the first piece, and it'll leave a mark on the second piece, and then when we pull it apart, then we have that mark that we can punch our holes straight through on. So let me get these. So you can usually just set it down and you can line up your marks on the inside, and that'll get you pretty close to where you want to be. And I just go and I try to line up my belt hole, my belt slots in. So from that far, I'm going to use my Dremel to do some quick sanding just around the edges, kind of even things up before I do my corners. There we are, all rounded off. Get rid of some of my garbage here. I'm just going to take and go around those edges again with the rotary tool. This is a fairly inexpensive rotary tool, Tack Life it's called. Works pretty good. I've had this one for a couple of years. Got dust all over the place, but does a nice job of rounding everything off, getting everything evened up Normally I would use my bench sander, but I missed this corner. I better get it. Anyway, as I was saying, now that I got that, I can go ahead and put my stitch lines in here now. You got to remember which side is which, because you got the one side with the trigger guard, which is this side, and the other side is just kind of a straight line. So this is my straight line side. When I draw this on here, I want to make sure that I'm real close to lining up with this hole and a hole on the bottom. So this is a tool that I had a need for and I didn't have it, so I made it, and it's just an old needle. And this is a little bit bigger one. It's probably, I don't know how big it is, single-aught needle. Oops, it's probably a single-aught needle. This is an old screwdriver handle that had broken on me, and I just kind of drilled a hole in it, filled it with some epoxy, and there it was. Now before I go and do my stitch line around here with my awl, there's a little, I hope you can see that, how that leather kind of flares away there. I want to kind of take that off. So I'm just grabbing, this is the number 0. And it'll just go around. It won't really bevel it, but it'll take that edge off. Now my belt slots, I punched those in there, remember, with a 3/8 by 1.5 inch punch. A belt slot punch. Normally, if I'm going through both layers, that's all I'll do. I had to go through each of these separately. So what I want to do now is I want to sand that. And there's a point where it's a lot of work. But this is a 1/4 inch Dremel bit, and it actually does a really good job on these belt slots. So I see that I need to put a new drum on there, a new sandpaper on it. So I'll be right back. Alright, we're all set. And I just kind of feed it in and just kind of roll into it. So I'm going to tip you up a little, so I'm not on top of my bench with it. There we are. They're nice and even. That's the best way I've found to do them so far. And we'll go around and bevel them. This beveler works okay. Let me tip you back down here. So this is the Odin number 5 beveler, biggest one, and it works okay. It works better than most, just for these belt slots. It's hard to find any beveler that's going to make that tight of a turn real well. This one seems to do okay. So chances are I'm going to have to, lay these back out again once I get all my holes made. Or once I start assembling it. It should be really, really close though. So, I marked here that stitch line. Set that rotary tool out of my way. And the rest I have to do with my awl. And I want it to be kind of right where the other one is, which it should be. I could take these apart and start with my stitch holes right away. I don't want to do that if I don't have to. This one should line up all the way through if I did my job right, and it does. So get the needle all the way through. So I'm going to start and use that hole as a reference. Puts me right here. I only want to go far enough that I'm going to make a mark on the other side. Which is going to be close to all the way. And as long as I've got that mark on the other side, I will be able to I'll have a little divot on the other side, and I'll show you when I'm done here. And I can use that to line up my punch to make the rest of my holes. So we just peel it apart. Now I have all my marked holes. So they're all punched on this side, and I can just use these marks to punch through on the other side. I will say, any of your stitches that are on the inside here, you won't hardly notice those once you're formed your holster. And gotta find something that shows up good. You can just kind of see they're there, but you won't really notice if they're perfect or not. Should be nice. All my holes are punched. Put my chisels away. And I think I'm going to go ahead in for dinner. Let some of my congestion get better. After I glue this up, that way it'll be glued up and can sit overnight that way. So just stayed inside that line. That's kind of just what you got to do on these. Those sit for a minute, and then I'm going to go ahead and put a second coat on. I'm going to stick them together just like they were before, and let them sit overnight, just because I kind of like to do that. Give that a few minutes, and we'll stick her together. Get some of my pins out. Oh, that one broke. So I'm going to start at the top, and I'm just going to go through the hole there that needs to line up, right on my line. If you get everything lined up right when you punch those holes, you should line up pretty good. There'll be a couple of holes that might be a tick off one way or the other. It just is the way it is. So I'm going to let this sit for a few minutes, and then I'm going to hammer it down and leave it sit overnight. That's all I got for today. We'll be back tomorrow.